Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome to the press conference of the film Passing Through the Night by Wattanapume Laisuwanchai in the Orizzonti competition of the 68th Venice International Film Festival. Just one announcement, contrary to what previously announced. We are doing the two press conferences of the films you might have just watched in the Sala Perla separately. We will also do the conference for the short film Passing Through the Night now, and then in 15 minutes we will go on with the conference for the feature film by Ben Rivers, 2 Years at Sea. This press conference will be held in Italian. Okay, I will ask questions in English. Wattanapume and Soraya will answer in Thai, and then there will be a translation into Italian. So if you need headsets, please get them outside the door. Well, first of all, let me introduce the guests here. We have the producer of the short film, Soraya Nakasuwan, and the director, Wattanapume Laisuwanchai. As a way to start this press conference, I would obviously like to ask Wattanapume something about the conception of this film, which is about night, passing through the night, about what happens when someone is sleeping and imagining things, dreaming or having nightmares. Can you tell us something about the specific nature of this night you are depicting in your film?
จริงๆมันเกี่ยวกับเรื่องคือเริ่มต้นมันมาจากแรงบันดาลใจที่เกี่ยวกับเรื่องแม่ครับที่สนใจใช่ไหมฮะแต่ว่าไอ้เรื่องที่กลางคืนเนี่ยมันเกี่ยวกับเหมือนโมเมนต์ตอนที่คนกำลังหลับอะฮะแล้วก็คือหนังมันพาคนดูเข้าไปดูพื้นที่ต่างๆในจิตใต้สำนึกของผู้หญิงคนหนึ่งนะครับ
Inizialmente la storia è ispirata alla mia madre e dopotutto questo durante il sonno degli esseri umani e praticamente il film parla della sensazione durante il sonno di ognuno di noi.
You said that this is actually inspired by your mother. In what sense do we see your mother in this film, in these images? What is it that belongs to her dreams, her nightmares in this film, or in your relationship with your mother?
ก็เป็นrelationship ใช่ไหมครับจริงๆเหมือนเป็นลูกคนเดียวครับหมายถึงว่ามี relationship ระหว่างแม่กับผมเป็นลูกคนเดียวแล้วก็เรื่องที่เกิดในภาพยนตร์ก็เป็นเรื่องที่เหมือนกับว่ามันยังวนเวียนที่ยังเกิดอยู่ในปัจจุบันนี้แล้วก็เลยคิดว่าอันนี้มันสำคัญที่มันสามารถหยิบมาทำเป็นภาพยนตร์ได้อะไรเงี้ยครับ
Io sono figlio unico e quindi questo rapporto, relazione tra me e mia madre è una cosa molto importante che rappresenta parte importante della mia vita.
In terms of the actual making of the film, can you tell us something about the spaces we see, the objects we see in the film? I think there are things that you actually made yourself.
คือหนังเรื่องนี้มันว่าผ่านพื้นที่นะครับพื้นที่แล้วก็อ็อบเจกต์บางอย่างที่เหมือนเป็นตัว represent ถึงเรื่องที่จริงเรื่องมันจะเป็นที่จริงเรื่องที่เกิดขึ้นจริงๆมันจะเป็นเรื่องที่ชัดเจนมากแต่ว่าเราทอนลงแล้วก็เล่าผ่านเป็นถึงพื้นที่ในจิตใจเขาอย่างเงี้ยครับ
Questa storia riflette la sensazione che avvengono e viene raccontato poi attraverso questo film.
Question for Soraya. How is it to actually be the producer of such kind of film, of an experimental film like this in Thailand, especially considering that Wattanapume is so young and this was basically a student's film?
เป็นเพราะว่าวัฒนภูมิเขายังเหมือนกับว่ายังเป็นฟิล์มเมเกอร์ที่อายุยังน้อยอะค่ะแล้วก็ไอ้ตรงนี้เรารู้สึกว่ามันยังต้องการการซัพพอร์ตค่อนข้างจะเยอะในแง่ของหนังทดลองในเมืองไทยก็เลยรู้สึกว่าอยากจะเข้ามาช่วยตรงนี้แล้วก็อีกเรื่องนึงก็คือมันเหมือนกับเป็นกระบวนการเพราะว่าหนังเรื่องนี้มันเป็นศิลปะนิพนธ์ซึ่งไอ้ศิลปะนิพนธ์เนี่ยไอ้กระบวนการทำเนี่ยมันไม่ใช่แค่หนังคือหนังเหมือนกับเป็นตัวจบสุดท้ายแต่ว่าระหว่างทางมันจะมีเหมือนงานศิลปะอื่นๆอย่างเช่นภาพถ่ายdrawing แล้วก็งานเขียนที่เป็นบทกวีอะไรเงี้ยค่ะซึ่งทีนี้เนี่ยไอ้พวกแมททีเรียลพวกนี้เนี่ยมันก็ค่อยๆถูกพัฒนาเอามาใช้จนเห็นเป็นภาพยนตร์สั้นที่เหลืออยู่ซึ่งกระบวนการจริงๆก็ค่อนข้างจะนานแล้วก็ตัววัฒนภูมิเองเนี่ยเขาก็เหมือนกับต้องการคนที่จะมาซัพพอร์ตตรงนี้เพราะว่าในแง่ของหนังทดลองในบ้านเราจริงๆเนี่ยคือมันก็ค่อนข้างจะมีพื้นที่ที่มันเล็กมันไม่ค่อยจะมีหนังประเภทนี้ออกมาสักเท่าไหร่แต่ว่าก็ตอนนี้ก็คือมันก็ค่อนข้างจะดีขึ้นเรื่อยๆนะ
Essendo un filmmaker giovanissimo, quindi è necessario che ci sia un supporto e questo è il motivo che sono entrata in collaborazione. Questo film è il genere che in Thailandia non ha molto spazio, ci vorrà molto del tempo ed è una sfida che ho provato. E per arrivare a un'opera alla fine, dietro questa opera c'è una preparazione lunghissima, molti studi vengono attraverso tanti studi di vari settori e quindi è stato un lavoro molto incoraggiante personalmente per me.
Wattanapume, in terms of your relationship with the audience, what kind of effect did you actually strive for? Because the feeling is that the sleep of this woman is actually filled with pain, and it feels like throughout the images, throughout the use of sound, you're aiming at some kind of effect of discomfort. Is this what you are actually trying to achieve, or what instead is the kind of perception that you aimed at for your audience to feel?
คือจริงๆเรื่องเสียงแล้วก็เรื่องภาพเนี่ยคือพยายามให้มันหมายถึงว่ามันเปิดโอเพนสำหรับให้มันคือโอเพนมากขึ้นแล้วก็เหมือนกับว่าตัวภาพยนตร์มันจะเปิดแล้วก็เพื่อที่จะให้คนดูครับเหมือนกับว่ามีปฏิสัมพันธ์กับมันคือเราไม่พยายามไปกรอบเขาแล้วก็ส่วนเรื่องเสียงหรือว่าเรื่องที่มันพยายามกดดันคนดูอย่างเงี้ยคือเราจะเหมือนกับให้มันรู้สึกเหมือนกับที่เรารู้สึกจริงๆนะฮะถึงเรื่องเสียงเรื่องอะไรอย่างเงี้ยครับที่ดีไซน์ไว้
Tra audio e l'immagine del film ho voluto che questi due effetti creano una sensazione negli spettatori.
Yes, but what kind of sensation or what kind of feeling is it that you were striving for? Because it looks like the sleeping of this woman is not actually sleeping comfortably. At the same time, the use of sound especially is apparently conveying a feeling of discomfort. I was actually asking if this is the feeling you were actually aiming at, or if there was something else that you meant for the audience to feel.
โปรเจกต์นี้มันเริ่มจากความเจ็บปวดนะครับแล้วก็ ก็เรื่องซาวมันก็มีผลกับเรื่องมันถึงว่าใช้เรื่องเสียงเป็นทำให้เกิดความเจ็บปวดกับหมายถึงว่าอย่างไงให้คนรู้สึกตามอะครับกับความเจ็บปวดอย่างเงี้ยฮะ
Nasce dal dolore. Il suono per me dovrebbe creare l'effetto di dolore, di sofferenza.
Are there maybe questions from the audience? Because then I can wrap this conference with a question that somehow is linked to what Soraya was saying earlier. Experimental filmmaking doesn't have a real space in the public mainstream scene in Thailand. Still, there are a lot of experimental films that are being made. And also there are filmmakers who first make their venture into filmmaking through experimental cinema, but then they go on and make feature films that might be, infused with an experimental feeling. So I'm wondering if Wattanapume, who is actually the youngest filmmaker in the Orizzonti section, is also seeing himself in the future as possibly a feature filmmaker, and if Soraya might be interested in working with him again on future projects. So.
ก็แน่นอนค่ะเพราะว่าคิดว่าหมายถึงว่าก็ยังเด็กอยู่อะฮะหมายถึงว่าคนทำหนังเด็กๆในเมืองไทยก็ยังมีอยู่เยอะแล้วก็ต้องการการซัพพอร์ตซึ่งตอนนี้เนี่ยคือสิ่งที่มันน่าสนใจคือสร้างพื้นที่อย่างนี้ให้จะทำยังไงให้พื้นที่อย่างเงี้ยมันมีมากขึ้นแต่ว่าตอนนี้คือรู้สึกว่ามันมีมากขึ้นเรื่อยๆแล้วในเมืองไทยจริงๆแต่ว่าอย่างวัฒนภูมิคิดว่าเรื่องนี้เนี่ยเป็นเรื่องแรกของเขาที่เป็นหนังสั้นเหมือนเป็นหนังสั้นศิลปะนะคะซึ่งมันก็อาจจะเป็นแค่ก้าวแรกแล้วก็ต่อไปมันก็คงต้องมีต่อแน่นอนซึ่งอาจจะเร็วๆนี้หรืออะไรก็คือจะต้องพยายามหาทุนแล้วก็สร้างให้มันเกิดขึ้นต่อไปให้ได้
Sì, sicuramente andrò avanti su questa strada. Ci sono tantissimi filmmaker thailandesi della nuova generazione, giovanissimi, che hanno bisogno di spazio e sicuramente hanno bisogno del supporto e quindi penso di proseguire su questa strada.
Next project.ก็คงคิดว่าน่าจะต้องมีเรื่องต่อไปแน่ๆครับแต่ว่าก็อาจจะต้องใช้เวลาหาอินสปิเรชันอะไรอย่างเงี้ยครับ
Sicuramente ci sarà il prossimo film, però avrò bisogno di un po' di tempo per trovare la nuova ispirazione.
Okay, thank you so much, Soraya. Thank you so much, Wattanapume, and thanks to everyone who stayed for this press conference.
And we continue with this press conference for 2 years at sea, and I'm very glad to welcome the director, Ben Rivers. Yeah. Why not? So there is a microphone, so you are more than welcome to join us in this discussion with your questions. And otherwise, I start with one that might be silly, maybe to remain silly, but would like to point out at something that is interests me. Did Jake need any help to pull that caravan up the tree? I mean, you were really behind the camera, or? And the general thing that interests me is how much you were waiting and witnessing, and how much you were working with him and arranging things with him, and how much he was engaged in giving you these great shots and great moments.
I think, well, on the whole, it was all directed. Everything in the film was set up, but it was all things that that Jake and I had talked about beforehand. So a lot of the things in the film are things that he would ordinarily do, but you know, to try and he kind of moves really quickly. His movements are very erratic and fragmentary, and he's kind of hard to pin down. He'll start one job, he'll you know, I don't know, he'll like start fixing something, go off to find a tool, and then he'll just disappear, and you don't know where he's gone, and then you realize that he's starting another job. You know, he's got completely sidetracked. So it's kind of quite hard to just film him in an observational kind of way. So I knew from the start that we needed to you know, to set things up. So we would just, you know, like all my films, I spend a lot of time in places, and I spent a lot of time with him over the course of the year, and we would just talk about scenes that we would like to do, and then so he'd be kind of reenacting his life in a way. But then there were other things which he wouldn't ordinarily do, like put a caravan up in a tree, or you know, make a raft and sit on a lake for 10 minutes or however long.
So who had the idea for those moments, let's say?
Well, they're mine. I guess I had, you know, there was no script, but I had a kind of wish list that, you know, in order to even get the money to make the film, I had to write a treatment which was maybe 3 pages long, and part of that treatment there was a list of maybe 10 scenes which I would like to do. Some of those I did, and then some of them I, you know, turned into other things. So, you know, my script is really minimal. It's but yeah, they're my, I guess they're my ideas, but they're ones that he went along with. That I had other ideas which he was like, yeah, that I don't think I would ever do that. So then we didn't do them.
And how much you know about Jake more than us, the viewers, we do? Because for sure you are more familiar with him, but I have the feeling also that in order to make the film the way you do it and the way you want to do it, you have to preserve some mystery about him yourself.
I mean, that's difficult when you spend a lot of time with someone, especially when it's in a place where there is no other distractions other than that other person.
So he speaks with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
we speak a lot. We spend many, you know, dark evenings with no electricity together, talking, drinking whiskey and you know, talking about his life. And, you know, they were kind of, you know, I didn't really want, you know, I'm not really interested in making a film about him, in a sense. You know, it's not a documentary about the facts of his life, but there are hints to his history, which is like the photos. They're his photographs, which... you know, he's got thousands of photographs, and I just really like this one set of black and white photographs. So they act as this kind of, you know, a way of making chapters in the film. But they're also kind of references to things that have happened in his life, but it's still very ambiguous. You know, the audience can make what they want out of a picture of 2 girls or a woman or an old man, you know. I mean, these are all like characters that are part of his life, but you're not being told exactly what they are, you know. So, but no, I mean, I know him really well. I mean, I made a film about him 5 years ago, so I mean, he's and we've stayed in touch ever since. So, yeah, I mean, I do know him well, but I prefer to make films that have a kind of mystery about them.
And about this film, as well as other films of yours before this one, I'm always wondering what happened when you go back with the footage, because probably this temporal dimension that you share with your subject when you are up there in this Scottish, I guess, hills. It draws you to this extreme long shot, to this experience of time, which is probably very similar to the one you had just being there. But then how it looks, this footage you have when you go back in London, I don't know, and everything is different around you, and this experience of sharing the time of your filmmaking and the time of what surrounds you, it's radically different.
I think, it is radically different, which is, I think that helps with the editing. I always think that, like, by the time I get to see the footage, I never watch it when I'm there. Obviously, I'm shooting on film, and then I don't process it until I get home. So there's this kind of disconnect between being in that place and that attachment to being there, because I love being there as well. I mean, it's these places that I make films. I probably enjoy being in those places more than being in London. But so I think when I get home, I guess it helps with the editing in terms, that kind of detachment, a kind of way of not being so tied to the moment, enables you to then actually, cut into these things, which, if I was to try and do that in that space, I think I'd have a completely different relationship to it. So, I mean, it is you have to get your head around the idea that you're gonna be, you want to share this space with other people, and how do you make that, I don't know, how do you make that work as cinema? It's being in that place is one thing, but the film is about creating a world in itself, or something that exists only really for cinema.
You just mentioned that Jake was in one of your previous films, and in several of your previous films you used a similar format and formal approach, I would say. So this wide CinemaScope lens, this 16mm black and white film. Am I right if I have the feeling that after bringing this approach, this visual approach, into this feature film length format, this is a kind of arrival point for this research of yours into this way of looking at things, a way of showing things? Or am I just wrong? Because I was wondering, when I saw this other short film you did recently, which was in a different format with color, with a different way of looking at things that had a feeling than your previous work, and with this care for and this taste for the color in the picture, I was wondering if that direction you're going to follow next, and if this film was possibly the great triumphal farewell to.
I mean, it's difficult to know exactly what's going to happen in the future, but in a way it does feel like a kind of endpoint to a body of work that I've been making about individuals living in the middle of, the wilderness, and I kind of wanted to make something like that would feel like not really an endpoint, because I still really I imagine it's going to be really hard to not go back to visit old men with beards who live in the woods, but it's it does feel like some kind of so I'm trying to think of the word. It's not a closure, but it's a point.
It's a step, yeah.
It's a step that feels kind of quite satisfying to have got to, and there's a lot of other things that I'd like to do with films, which I think have already started happening in the other short film you're talking about, and in slow action, which is a really different kind of science fiction kind of thing. So,
talking about science fiction that you just mentioned, often in some previous works you bring that science fiction atmosphere through some bits and pieces of texts, of voices from feature films. Did you try this strategy and this effect with this film as well, and then you just left it out, or it was, in this case, not a feeling you want to evoke in this picture in particular?
Yeah, no, I wanted to with this film, I wanted to kind of go back to the film that I originally made of Jake, like 6 years ago. This Is My Land, where you know, everything that was in the film came from that space. So all the music, all the sounds, everything comes from that 1 acre of land, really. And so I kind of wanted to do the same thing, but obviously make a different film. I didn't want to repeat myself, but I felt like, you know, Jake's world is so sort of, so kind of defined, that it seemed sort of unnecessary to bring in any kind of other outside stuff. I mean, there's so much stuff going on there, and you know, it always amazes me his you know, he lives in this beautiful, can be very quiet place, but he finds different ways to like blare out music, you know, through his car stereo, for this crazy speaker, and you know, blaring out this music into the forest. And so I like to, you know, so all that music, it's all just stuff that he's playing himself. And yeah, so
I think we should seize the chance of asking the good old-fashioned question about film stock, because probably in a couple of years we will not be allowed to talk about that anymore. So let's have fun. Tell us everything about all the Kodak codes, and no, beside that, what you use, and probably for people and for the record and for people not familiar with your work, maybe some information about how you get this kind of amazing picture is useful.
well, yeah, I guess like it kind of is an important case in point at this particular moment. The film was shot on Kodak Plus X, which is a very beautiful black and white film stock, which they discontinued. They announced it just when I was starting the film, so I was still deciding whether to make it in color or black and white. And yeah, they announced the stopping of this particular film, and so I just spent a really large amount of money buying up everything that was available in Britain, France. I mean, I think I got the last lot that was available, kind of on 16mm anywhere. So I've got I've still got a bit left in my fridge, but so I bought a lot of it, and you know, so the film, you know, it's a film stock that I really love, and it's so that the film is also like an ode to that, you know, that particular medium, which is basically not available anymore. It's something that's been taken away purely because of you know, money. It didn't make enough money. Which is obviously a real shame. So there's only one black and white stock left from Kodak.
You like it?
I'm not so keen on it, no. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I might just make colour films now, but probably not. I'll find some second-hand stuff or something. But, you know, because you know, this film is also hand-processed. It was processed in my kitchen. So, you know, that's another... You know, it was another important element of making this film, you know, and, you know, I think there's a kind of nice parallel between, you know, Jake's very hands-on, you know, way of living. You know, it's very physical, and, you know, and so the way I'm making films as well is also very physical. It's about being there, it's about getting dirty, it's about making a tangible film, which also, you know, picks up bits of dirt, you know, gets, you know, when I process it, it has watermarks, and, you know, it's a physical thing. And you know, if I was to go there with like a red camera, I just feel like it would be too clean, too crisp, too kind of perfect. You know, it's yeah, so I like that kind of dirtiness.
And how, of course, you worked for several years on this hand processing film, so definitely you developed the skills. But I wonder how much is still, how much you still control the process, and how much you or you might happen to be surprised by some results in terms really of black, whites, contrast, light, grain.
I mean, I think I know it pretty well now, but still, like the lab who's doing the blow up, they were complaining because they could see these strange marks, and I didn't actually know what they were, but he said it was because I was using the developer for too long. I was developing too many films with one batch of developer, and I didn't even know that, and but that was the results that you get from that is something which is really nice. It's a kind of a glowing around the edge of things, which is obviously an accident and is something that you would never get if you went to a film lab, or again if you shot digitally. I don't think there's even an app for it. It's very particular. Yeah.
Any question from the audience? How's Jake?
Oh, he's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to do a screening at his house. We can invite his friends, and so we'll have a screening out in the woods. It would be nice. Yeah, he's into it. He's not a reluctant star. He's actually quite a show off, and I make him seem like he's. The film is a fiction because I make it seem like he's totally alone all the time, but he's not at all. He's actually really, he's super friendly and has lots of people visiting all the time. I mean, he tries to have people there all the time. So it's, it's a fiction.
Okay, if there are no further, one here. Sorry, I was against the light.
I would like to know why did you choose that title?
The title. Okay. Yeah, the title comes from one of these late night talks about his life. So he was telling me that I asked him how he'd found that place and to begin with, and how he'd paid for it, and he said that he had a very clear idea in his mind that he wanted to find a house very far from anybody else in the middle of the forest, and he actually really wanted to have a commune, I think, but no one joined him. But he basically worked on a merchant navy ship for 2 years, and saved every penny. He said he didn't spend anything. He just worked solidly for 2 years. He saved, and this was in the 70s. I think he saved something like £5,000 and bought that house. And then once he bought it, that was it. So, yeah.
Okay, I guess we can wrap it here. And thanks you for being here and sharing this discussion. But thanks most of all to Ben and for the beautiful film and for the discussion here and the question and your kind answer. Thank you very much. How close? This or more? Hang on. Wait. That's it. A bit more serious. Fuck off, you fuck off.